Nick, welcome and thank you for joining me on Bands on the Radar, man. I really appreciate it.
Thank you so much for having me. I appreciate
Yeah,
you doing this whole thing.
absolutely. Yeah. So, how's your day going so far? How's life treating you?
Pretty good today. Today was a
Yeah.
pretty decent day. It's starting to kind of come down snow over here in the
Is
Chicagoland
it?
area. Yeah, it's
Okay.
we got
Yeah.
this storm coming through, and it's
We're
been
getting
like,
hammered right now with rain. So you're getting the snow, we're getting the rain.
yeah.
So,
You're
yeah.
just south of us, right?
Yeah. I'm right in central Indiana. Yeah.
Okay, gotcha.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I think that might be where
Yeah.
we maybe even had met at one point, if I'm not
Okay.
mistaken. Yeah,
Okay. Yeah, could have been. Could have
yeah,
been. Yeah, and we've tried to put this together for a few months, and we finally got the opportunity to do it. So
yeah.
yeah, I'm glad.
I've had some health things leading up to this, and
Okay.
just trying to navigate all that's been a little bit of a
Yeah.
a challenge. We'll call it that.
Okay. Hopefully
But
you're on the better end of that now.
yeah, I'm starting to
Yeah.
get better.
Yeah.
A lot of people, a lot of people might real close to me kind of know this, but I have Crohn's
Hmm.
disease, and I was just actually
Oh.
diagnosed as well with Barrett's.
Oh.
So
Okay.
just a lot of little things and doctor visits and
Sure.
kind of that sort of
Yeah.
thing. So just trying to
Yeah.
navigate some of that's been a little bit
Sure.
challenging, but
Yeah. I bet. I bet. Okay. Well, let's spend a little time talking about your band. Tell me who all is in the band right now.
okay. So founding members of the band are myself. I'm Nicholas Kazonis,
Hmm.
and we also have Nick Janikowski, and also
Hmm.
goes by as Nick J. He plays bass,
Okay. Hmm.
and Alex Akers, who is a trumpet player, guitar player, and singer as well in the band.
Hmm.
Multi instrumentalist, great player. And so
Hmm.
us three all started the band in
Okay.
2013, and then
Okay.
we had a series of different drummers, and all great people, wonderful players. But just everybody kind of went and did their respective different things that they went out
Hmm.
through in life, and
Hmm.
we ended up with Mike G, on drums, who's been with us since, I want to say, almost a year now. I want to say, yeah, just about a
Okay.
year, and
Very
it's
cool.
been really explosive, awesome creativity. He has a lot of
Mm-hmm.
great input, and he's just a pleasure to work with. Just a really great
Awesome.
guy, along with the
Yeah.
other guys, of course. But
Yeah, yeah. I've got a little band experience myself, and the world's a much better place when everybody gets along and everybody's pushing towards the same goals. So,
absolutely,
yeah,
and
yeah,
that's the
yeah.
thing, is everybody has to be on the same page as to what you're trying to
Mm-hmm.
accomplish.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
That's
Yeah.
I can't stress that enough. In our experience, we've gone through some challenges where it's like, well, some people don't necessarily agree with some aspects of the message, and so then we talk
Mm-hmm.
about it, because it's in Caught On Cline. It's very democratic. Everybody has to
Mm-hmm.
have an input.
Okay.
It's not just my band or the other Nick's band or Alex's band or
Yeah.
Mike's band. It's us as a group, and we all talk about it. So
Right. Nice. Nice. Okay. I was watching one of your electronic press kit videos on
okay,
YouTube, and in one of them you kind of you explain your backgrounds, your individual backgrounds, and I'd love for you to go into that because while I enjoyed the music that I was listening to, I've listened to pretty much everything you've put out. That understanding of your backgrounds, it's like it broadened my knowledge, and it took all that to the next level. Does that make sense?
it does, yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So explain the backgrounds of everybody in the band and just what the individuals bring to it, and then make it as a group.
Yeah, so in terms of myself, I can really obviously speak best about myself. I grew up playing in a. I'm the fourth generation of Greek and belly dance music in my family,
Okay, okay,
and so I've done a lot of weddings and church functions and all those types of things, and I kind of learned the music. Just kind of was introduced to music so early in an age because it was always
hmm,
around. There was always the
hmm,
family,
hmm,
and it's just I always just wanted to. I always just gravitated towards that. And as I grew older, I knew that I wanted to do music, as my as a purpose. I mean, really,
hmm.
you kind of, if you're a musician or an artist of any kind, you kind of know that
Hmm.
you don't choose the art kind of chooses you,
Yeah, I
you
like
know.
it. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
So it's one of those things where you just have to kind of go with the flow and not really fight it, you know.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And that's really what it was. What it's always been for me is my purpose is to just help people heal
Mm-hmm.
through the music, and do that through giving them our source of love, which is what the music is all about, and just really
Mm-hmm.
giving people that understanding of what it is that we're trying to accomplish is bringing all these diverse backgrounds of us as individuals, which I'll kind of lead into some of the other guys' the Cliff Notes version, of course. But
Yeah. Okay.
it's just taking these different diverse backgrounds and culminating it into, we don't try to stick to a style. We just let the music be what the music is, you know, that
Mm-hmm.
sort of thing.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So it's one of those kinds of things that it's really just about our purpose. It's about healing. It's about love. It's about unity through diversity. That's like what we're
Mm-hmm.
trying to accomplish in our
Mm-hmm.
music. We're not trying to
Yeah.
stick to a style or a sound
Mm-hmm.
necessarily, which, you know, we've obviously kind of tightened that up over the years, but
Right.
uh, that's the kind of the main purpose and motive behind it.
Yeah. Yeah.
As far as Nick J, you know, for him, music's always been he's Macedonian, so it was a background for him, like having that diverse, you know, sound ability and sounds and experiences,
Mm-hmm.
and bringing that to the table. And he's been my best friend for pretty much my whole life.
That's awesome.
Yeah,
That's
so
awesome.
it's a blessing to be able to play with him, play music with him, and be able
Mm-hmm.
to share so much history and,
Yeah.
you know, trials and tribulations and joys
Yeah.
and all those kinds of
Yeah.
things.
Yeah.
As far as with Alex, Alex kind of grew up not from the region that we're from. He grew up in Bloomington, Indiana, which
Okay.
is about 3.5 hours south of us.
Mm-hmm.
And dad was a drummer. He like grew up around music as well, and he kind of took on the music teaching. He's in music education as a teacher up in Hammond, Indiana,
Okay.
and a lot of jazz background. He loves like R&B and soul, a lot of neo soul, a lot of that new R&B kind of sound, and so a lot of
Yeah.
our songs that are in that sort of realm, he kind of has helped facilitate,
Mm-hmm.
and his experience and education has really kind of helped us as musicians. We get a little harebrained, as I call it, and all these explosions of creative ideas, and he kind of helps us like,
Yeah.
okay, guys, let's organize it. He's like the,
Yeah.
you know, the
Yeah.
organizer of
Put
it
some
all.
guardrails on it.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
then Mike, our new drummer, is very, you know, he's grew up in church playing a
Mm-hmm.
lot of gospel music. He's also a Columbia grad like myself, and
Oh wow.
so he
Okay.
had a lot of the experience and education kind of from Columbia, diverse
Mm-hmm.
wise from what I had.
Mm-hmm.
And for him, I think that the music is really just about, you know, spreading love and just doing something positive and kind of putting our stamp on what we're doing, you know.
Yeah. 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 Very good. That's and as the listeners go and check you out, they're going to hear all those elements that you just described in the music, and we're going to talk about some of that here soon. But so you're in the Chicago area. Um,
Yeah.
that's kind of home base for you. Is that always been home for you?
Yeah, for me, it's always been home. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
In
Yeah.
fact,
Okay.
Nick and I have both always been in this area. Mike was more on the I think southwest side of Chicago. He grew up,
Mm-hmm.
and then moved to Indiana just like in the last few years.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
then Alex was originally from Bloomington.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Cool. And you talked about some of your early musical influences with your Greek heritage. What other bands in particular at that early age, and then just as you grew, were you checking out?
Like that I was performing in, or that I was like influenced by.
Influenced by?
Okay,
Yeah.
influenced by. I listened to a lot of, you know, growing up, my dad played all the old blues and soul and Motown
Mm-hmm.
records, you know,
Mm-hmm.
and so
Mm-hmm.
I had a lot of that in the household. As American music,
Yeah.
as we
Okay.
would consider it in
Yeah.
our household. And then obviously with the Greek heritage, I learned all the traditional stuff
Hmm.
and all that sort of thing. But unfortunately, I I didn't really understand it. It was like it was just around, so I didn't really like study it. So I didn't get to really study what it was that I was listening to and like
Hmm.
understand it from an educational standpoint until much later in life.
Okay.
When I actually was in high school, I started like listening to the different kind of subgenres and genres and like being able to classify the Greek music that I was listening to
Okay.
and the Middle Eastern
Okay.
music and things
Yeah.
like that.
Yeah.
So as my education broadened, so did my taste in what I was listening to
Hmm.
as well, if that makes
Hmm.
sense.
Hmm. Sure. Yeah. For the average listener, how would you compare what we would hear, in America, American music, and whatever that means? How would the rhythms and whatnot in Greek and Mediterranean and a lot of those things you mentioned, what would be a noticeable difference?
So like the scales is one thing. The rhythms in the dances is very very prominent as well. Like a lot of
Hmm.
American music is very standard, one two
Hmm.
three four,
Hmm.
1 2 3 4. The way that we kind of think about it, like in Greek music, is about how the move of the dance is. Well,
Hmm.
when you calculate it in terms of like music composition or theory and that sort of thing,
Hmm. Hmm.
like we have a lot of 7/8 time instead of 4/4 time. We have 9/8.
Okay.
We have 9/4s. We have 5/4s. And for me, it was just like it was inherent. It was like genetic in a way because it was just so natural to me. I never really had to think about it. And so then I'd be like
Yeah.
playing something as a kid, trying to like
Yeah.
jam in my garage with friends. And they're like, "What the hell are you doing?" Where, like, where's the, like, where
Uh,
you're off time. It's like,
yeah.
no, I'm not. I'm playing
No.
short, short,
Yeah.
long, short, short, long, or in music theory terms, 1 2 3 4 5 6 7, 1 2 3 4 5 6 7. But I never thought about it counting it at that point in
Yeah.
time. In
Yeah.
my early stages of music, it was always just short, short, long, short, short, long,
Hmm.
or like a
Okay.
9/8 was
Yeah.
short, 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 long, short, 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 long. Because you think of it as a dance step. You don't think of it as the musical, like theoretical point of view.
Right. Right. Yeah. Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I'd have been one of those kids in your garage going, "What? What are we doing? It's not 4/4 time. What's
Yeah,
going on?"
yeah.
So
And
yeah.
as far
Yeah.
as the scales go, that a lot of that Middle Eastern stuff is based on an
Mm.
Eastern scale system, which typical Western scale music is a 12 tone chromatic scale.
Mm-hmm.
The Middle Eastern makam, as they call it, it comes
Mm-hmm.
out of a 21 tone. So there's a lot of
Oh wow.
microtonal stuff that kind of
Okay.
exists in that. So it's very
Interesting.
inherent for me to hear that, and other
Yeah.
people are like, "Oh, that sounds out of tune." It's like, no,
Mm.
that's just the
Mm.
style of what it is.
Yeah. Very cool. Very cool. I love that. So you play guitar in the band, and I dare say are you self-taught? It sounds like you've
I
been
am so
professionally
I am
trained.
self-taught.
Are you? Okay.
I am self-taught to an extent. It's I didn't really take any formal lessons
Okay.
on guitar until probably college, which
Okay.
would have been 10 years ago.
Mm.
So I did everything by ear, and then I got to college, and they were like, "Well, you can play, but you're doing the techniques like." From a classical standpoint, are very
Right.
wrong. and
Uh,
and I was like, okay. So then like I had to learn how to like approach it the same stuff I was playing with a very different technique, which I think just made me a better player.
mm-hmm.
It just made me a
Mm-hmm.
better player overall, is
Yeah.
understanding
Yeah.
some kind of way to build something to build from essentially.
Sure. Sure. So you play other instruments.
Yeah. So in
I've seen some videos.
Caught On
Yeah.
Cline, I play guitar, I play
Hmm.
bouzouki, which is the Greek instrument,
Yeah. I
and
want to
I
talk
uh, and
about
I
that in a
sing as well.
second.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So tell me about the bouzouki. That I saw you. I saw a clip. It might have been. because I know you opened up for Delvon
Hmm.
Lamar
Oh
at the
yeah.
Vogue, and I'm so upset I didn't get to see that show. I think there's a clip of you, and I'm sure it's I don't know every show you play, but you were playing that, and I'm like, what is that? It sounds great. So tell me a little bit about that instrument.
Yeah, so the bouzouki is an 8 string lute instrument, and
Okay,
it's they say it's like one of the oldest instruments that you can like are still that is like lived.
really?
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's in
Okay.
its some type of form has lived throughout the test of time. It's like one of the oldest
Okay.
living instruments,
Okay.
in some way or shape or form, of course.
Hmm. Hmm.
But the one that I play was custom made, and it's called a silent bouzouki. And the reason I got that is because a lot of the instruments that are made in Greece aren't typically made with truss rods. And
Okay.
so, me traveling the states, traveling into different climates and
Sure.
humidities and things like that, taking a very brittle walnut wood instrument
Hmm.
was very dangerous. And it got to
Hmm.
a point where it started to like the face of my instrument started to actually like concave a little bit.
Okay.
And so I was like, okay, enough's enough. I need to find
Yeah.
something that I can adjust to play with. And I do miss playing the acoustic, to be clear.
Hmm.
I just I can't bring myself to bring such a brittle instrument.
Sure.
One weekend you're in southern states, and then the next you're in
Yeah.
the brutal cold. So
Yeah.
and we haven't since COVID happened. We haven't really toured nearly as much, so it's not as been as big of a deal. But
Hmm.
it makes more sense to do the solid body silent bouzouki. So it's a custom
Okay.
made kind of thing,
Okay.
and it's made by like a small dealer out there in Greece that made it for me. But it has a truss rod. It's a solid body and it has its own like special kind of preamp and everything built into
Yeah.
it.
Very cool.
But
Were they used to
it's
making?
8 strings and it's 4 course.
Okay. Okay. Were they used to making instruments with truss rods, or is that something new for them? Or
So certain dealers out there that know that they're going to ship them off to the
mm,
states or other
hmm,
countries, it's become way more acceptable now. But when I first
right.
got my bouzouki, well, my professional grade bouzouki, I should say,
Hmm.
when I first got into college, it was at that time it was like $3,500 instrument.
Ooh.
So I
Wow.
was not really, and it didn't have a truss rod,
Yeah.
they didn't
Oh,
typically have
wow.
truss rods and that sort of thing. And so
Yeah.
you know, I, I talked to the guy, got one put into it. Obviously had to spend some extra money, but
Hmm.
it wasn't really meant to be there initially. So it's
Right.
one of those kinds of situations where you have to be really cautious. And there's like a whole, train of thought like, oh, you don't add the truss rod because it changes the sound. And then there's it's like that whole
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
tube amp. If you're a guitar player, tube amp versus not
Yep.
tube amp thing.
Yep. Oh yeah. Yeah.
It's like the purist versus the traditionalist purist versus
Sure.
the
Yeah.
modernist.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Very good. Very good. Tell me about your songwriting process. You mentioned used the word democratic earlier. Is it democratic, or do you tend to take the lead on songwriting? Or
You know, it's fairly democratic. Everybody has a voice in it, but it really depends because sometimes there's songs where I hear a bass line first, and
okay,
so
okay, yeah,
I can't not build the song if I don't show the bass player the bass line first.
right, right,
And I give Nick usually liberty if I write like a bass line. I'm like, okay,
hmm,
this in this section I need it to
hmm,
be very close to this.
right, hmm,
And then so I'll bring a full. Sometimes I bring a full song, and I say let's try this and let's attempt it and see how it goes and that sort of thing. And then sometimes it's just a concept. It's an idea. It's like, hey, what are you guys listening to right now? Well, I've been listening to Gary Willis or whatever, and all these different like
hmm,
players. And okay,
hmm,
let's listen to the song you were listening to this week. Let's talk about the elements of it that we really like, and then
okay,
we'll approach it from the songwriting perspective of what someone else has done. Or it's a
that's
lot of
very
times in the
cool.
past it's been a lyric line.
Hmm.
I was reading a Dr. Seuss book for one of
Hmm.
our most recent songs, And
Okay.
let me actually look up the line because I don't have it memorized. Let's see here.
I did not think Dr. Seuss would make an appearance today.
Yeah,
That's
Dr.
awesome.
Seuss is making an appearance. So this is a new song that we haven't released yet. It's called One More Dance, but in the pre-chorus I say, how did it get so late so soon? It feels like it's night before it's afternoon. And that's a Dr. Seuss quote. And I was like thinking about it. I was like, well, obviously we know what that kind of is alluding to. And then I was like, how can I take that into a song, and how can I like talk about what it is that I want to say? And it was about, awaiting for like the love of my life sort of thing. It's a love song. And it's called One More Dance. And it's like talking about how you meet the person that you want to meet in life, later in life. And it's like, I just want that chance for one more dance. So that's kind of what that
Okay.
song is
I like
alluding
it.
to. So
I like it.
the songwriting practice is really just, it's all over the place. It's comes from a quote. It comes from another song that I wrote personally for the group was You and Me. And I knew that I wanted it to be a samba. And it's all about climate change and the global crisis that we're approaching, and that sort of thing. And it's not meant to be a political thing. It's actually meant to be an individual thing. And what I'm telling people in the song is the way that we can change the world, whether it be climate, whether it be, anything, it's a choice that we make individually. And we have to do it with love for others, not just ourselves.
Very good. Is that a released song?
Not yet. Those are all
Not
ones
yet,
that are
okay.
that are going to be since we actually the show that you're referring to, the Delvon show, we got signed that night by Novo Productions, who is with who's Delvon's management company, and
Okay.
actually his wife as well, and very good friends of mine, really wonderful people, and we've been compiling since I want to say probably December, November-ish. We've have about 20, 25 songs now that we're writing
Nice.
that we're going to kind of compile into like finding which ones are going to be released, which ones are going to be awaited on, and that sort of thing. So we're in the process of deciding all that right now.
Yeah, nice, nice. And we're going to jump into your songs here in a second. I've heard different, as I've talked on the podcast with different artists and songwriters. Some will say, we play the songs live first, so we really get them fully baked, and then in others, no, we just cut them in the studio. Do you have an approach? Is it one way or the other, or is it all the above?
It's all of them. Yeah,
Yeah,
it's all of them
yeah.
really. We approach it in different ways depending on the track.
Sure.
Sometimes it's like, hey, we just have this idea. Let's see what happens live. Let's just see what
Yeah.
happens live, and
Yeah.
go from it from that kind of standpoint.
Cool. One last question, and like I said, we will get to the songs here. Your voice is incredible.
Thank you.
It's powerful. And it can be subtle at times. Is that something that have you been singing since a young age, and when did confidence come into it, or have you always had confidence?
So confidence is still on the radar.
That's about the most common answer I get. I'm still not there yet.
Yeah, confidence is still on the radar, but I do appreciate the kind words. A lot of people they kind of are taken back by this, which surprises me, but everybody has their perspective. I didn't start singing until it was a necessity. I hated singing. I hated the sound of my own voice. And in time, it was like I was writing these songs and I was trying to show people like how to sing them, and they just weren't getting it, So I had to kind of, in the process of writing songs and getting tired of hiring this vocalist and them not doing what I wanted, and hiring that vocalist, I was like, screw it. I'm just gonna do it. Just like I had to learn guitar, just like I had to learn bouzouki, learn piano. I just have to work for it,
Yeah.
And the guy is always like Nick, especially because Nick's known me, pretty much my whole life, and he's kind of seen where I started at when I started to sing, and
Yeah.
where it's, you know, kind of in the trajectory of where it's going. And
Hmm.
it's very funny because he's always like, dude, you've come so far from when
Hmm.
when you first started this. He's like, and I'm just like, he always tells me he's in awe of like where we're going, you know.
Mm. Well, that's got to be inspirational to hear that.
It is. It is.
Yeah.
That is the type of thing, like, coming from the people that are closest to me,
Hmm.
that has seen it. You know,
Yeah.
that's what means the most to me in that regard, is because
Hmm.
I don't see it because I do it every day.
Hmm.
But then, like, you know, you go back and you listen to an old record or something, you're like, oh God, I missed that note. You know, like, but I am my own worst critic, and I know that everybody
Yeah.
typically says that, but I really am
Yeah.
very hard on myself. So
Yeah, yeah. Well, for the listeners out there, when you check out the music, you won't believe that he struggles with confidence, and because your voice is just it's so strong. It just and it's unique. It's got such a unique sound to it too. So I love it. So
thank you.
yeah, let's jump in to the music. You've three full length album releases. Your debut, Caught On Cline, come out in 2015. 9 songs. A lot of good energy on that record. Unity and Diversity in 2018. That's got 12 songs on it. And I saw somewhere in one of the videos, I think, or I maybe heard you say it. I'm not sure. You called that a concept album. Talk a little bit about that.
Yeah. So that one was where the first album was really just about like an explosion of ideas that we
Mm-hmm.
all had, that we were like, we have to let these out. We have to let these kind of be present in what we're trying to say and who we are, and we don't even know who we are yet because we just started
Mm-hmm.
this whole project, you know. But the second album, you know, 3 years later, we matured as musicians a little bit more. We matured in understanding that I'm gonna speak for myself when I say this.
Mm-hmm.
And I think the other guys would agree with this, but spiritually, we matured in understanding what our purpose was in the music and what we were trying to accomplish as a group, not just as individuals, and
Yeah.
as individuals coming into that group. And so we sat down and we said, we want to write an album that is just as diverse as we are, and just
Mm-hmm.
as methodical, and gives the voice to people, is to all these different genres that people listen to. And like,
Mm-hmm.
it's hard to explain unless you've listened to it.
Mm-hmm.
But
Yeah.
it's about demographic, religion, social status. But at the end of the day, the main premise of it is, it's called Love, Unity, and Diversity, and it's a 2-disc album. There's songs all about love and the different types of love. It's not just relationship love. You know, we have a song on there called Sweet Pea, which is a song that Nick J wanted to write a song about the love to his children. And I was, you know, I'm not a father. I didn't understand. I can only empathize with that love. So I tried to write it from his perspective in the words that he said. And we wrote Sweet Pea for his sons. And the only thing I could really come up with for myself was, as a teacher who's been teaching for close to almost 20 years now.
Wow.
But
Wow.
that's kind of scary to say out loud. Um, but being a mentor for a lot of these children, and just people and adults and everything, and just and having, but mostly I wanted to leave something to that next generation, to show them, because in 2018, in the time that this was being written, there was a lot of social turmoil, a lot of left versus right, all these different social things that were kind of happening. And I've always felt like I don't really fit in that mindset of like me versus you, whether it be this or that or the other, because it's about what, in my personal belief,
Mm-hmm.
I'm a Christian, and I feel that we should give love no matter what.
Mm-hmm.
And so I never really understood why people were so judgmental about like the smallest, stupidest little things, like,
Right. For
and
sure.
it really bothered me. And again, I don't really get into the politics of it or anything, but for me, it was just about, I want to create something that can stand the test of time, because at some point I won't be here, my voice won't be here, but I want to leave something to this generation to show them that like there are different types of love and you can love people in different kinds of ways. And there's love from a father to a son. There's love from a person in a relationship to another person in a relationship, intimacy. There's love in terms of the love of material things. There's all these different kinds of love, and it's so broad and diverse, just like we are as a band. Yeah. And then what we did on the diversity side of the disc was about the lyrics encapsulated all the different perspectives. And like, there's even a song on there that our old drummer, Ray, he actually rapped over, and we never had any kind of rap on any of our songs prior to that. So it was really cool because it was giving the perspective in that particular song where me, Nick, or Alex couldn't give that perspective because we never lived those experiences. But it gave Ray, as the drummer, a voice to say what he wanted to say.
Yeah, nice. Yeah, okay. And if you don't mind, tell me about the album cover. That's a really cool album cover. I really started studying it. It was on my phone, but I was like, okay, now I kind of see something happening.
I really wish Nick J could be here because he's the one who he's also like an artist and graphic designer, and he designs all our stuff. Yeah. For Unity Diversity, I told him, I said, the only thing I can think of is how we can like express love, but in a way that is very unifying to show all kinds of different people, but you don't see their differences. You just know that they're coming to one common flow or consciousness is really the word that I was like kind of using. And he ran with it, and he just developed. It's
very cool.
Yeah, it's really unique. It's unique.
It is unique, yeah, and cool. So again, listeners, check it out. It's very cool, and there's more artwork to talk about here in a second. But 2021, you released. I just happen to have it here. You released now. Am I pronouncing this right? Is it just the next set?
It's one as in like as in a Roman numeral 1, the next chapter. Okay. So it's like chapter 1 of the next, and it's the next set. So, because we recognized that there was going to be different chapters moving forward because we've had so much adversity and things like that. But it was like, let's think of these albums as kind of like different chapters in our trajectory.
Yeah, cool. And I don't want to fail to mention this on every one of your recordings that I've checked out. Everybody gets a chance to shine at some point, which I think is so cool. The drummer gets some love.
Yeah.
You do, and the lead work does. The horns do. The bass playing is just phenomenal. But and there's throughout the songs in the catalog, everybody gets a chance to step up at some point, and I think that's so cool. And you guys have done that very well. So, and lots of different textures and tones too. So, 8 songs on the next set. What any particular songs that you're drawn to? I know they're all related to you, but
I mean, there's a lot of that whole album was really from a very specific lens. I wanted to approach it from a very songwriter-esque, not compositional-esque, because all our other albums had a lot of elements of songwriting and composition, but this one in particular, I wanted it to be less about the flash and more about the content of the lyrics.
Okay.
And the guys were really, really interested in like exploring that, and they just followed suit, and we all just kind of came together. It was really great. But at any rate, to answer your question, what song from there for me is "I Can't Live Without You."
Okay.
And that came about Alex, guitar player, horn player, and other singer as well. He just had that opening idea on the guitar, and I was like, just you write the music, I'll take care of the lyrics on this one, because I already had the whole thing just ruminating of what it was going to be about. And so a lot of people think that that's like a song to like a significant other. which I intentfully wrote it that way.
Mhm.
But and that's actually, I think this is the first time I've actually talked about this publicly. But I the song was written with the intent to be masked in that sort of way. But what
Okay.
it meant to me specifically was I've donated my entire life in to music. And so
Mm.
the music is the love that I'm talking about for me.
Interesting. Okay.
And so I
I like
initially
it.
in the original scripts that I was writing for it, in the lyrics, I decided to take away words that were very specific to saying like music. It's
Okay.
about music, and I was like,
Hmm.
I'm gonna let it be about what it is because
Hmm.
I want it to be special for everybody and let them connect to it in the way that
Right.
they connect to it.
Yes.
And it was really, there's many instances where I've like people have come to me and talked to me about that song, and they're like, one of them was like, I just lost my mother,
Mm.
and I felt this grief, and when I heard this song, it
Mm.
just gave me this opportunity to like kind of grieve it and say like, it's okay to say I can't live without you, but
Yeah.
in a more of a positive, like if you read the lyrics, you'll kind of understand
Yeah.
it.
Yeah. Well, that's powerful. That had to be, that had to set you back a little bit.
Well, one of the instances that really, former guitar player of Delo 3, Jimmy James,
Hmm. Mm. Yeah.
he he comes up on stage whenever we played with them. We would
Hmm.
invite him and Delvon to come and play that song with us, as well as one of our songs called "Shut the Funk Up,"
Yeah.
which
Yeah.
which is a whole other funny thing, but to it. But we invited Jimmy to play that song with us, and
Hmm.
before we went out for our set, he's like, he told me, he was like, hey, tonight was my mother's birthday, and he had just lost his mother, and they had to cancel a whole
Mm.
European tour and all that. And I was like,
Mm.
tonight, I was like, I'm gonna say something on the mic. I said, but this song is dedicated to your mom.
Mm.
Tonight, it's dedicated
Wow.
to mom. So, and
Wow.
and we actually have video from the Magic Bag in Detroit of that night on
I think
YouTube.
yeah, I saw that one.
Yeah,
Yeah. I didn't, yeah. What, oh, that's great. I'm going to
yeah.
go back and rewatch that now. Got the
Hmm.
backstory. So, yeah.
Yeah, so
Cool.
there's a lot of little things to it where it's like, you know, there's so many adversities in what we do with our music, but like when you
Hmm.
realize that those moments, just those little
Hmm.
nuggets of moments that,
Hmm.
in the way that I believe God or universe or circumstance or serendipity, whatever people want to call it,
Hmm.
is it's really about that opportunity to understand that what we're doing in our music is merely just a vessel, right? We're just
Hmm.
taking this light and this good this where this infinite source of love and this infinite
Hmm.
source of positivity, and all we're doing is we may go through a lot of trials to do it, but when we get those nuggets of those moments, you realize why you do it.
Yeah. Okay. I like that. Very good. Cool. Um, and you've released a couple of singles in 2022. The aforementioned "Shut the Funk Up."
Yep.
You got to be careful on how we say that one. And I'm telling you, if you can't get into that song, then somebody's got to check your pulse, man. That's a major nod to Parliament and Funkadelic,
Hmm.
and so just tell me about that song. And you had some guest appearances on there.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's such an
So
awesome song.
at that point, we had lost our previous drummer.
Hmm.
He had left the band, and we were kind of like in this place after releasing our the next set. Shortly after
Hmm.
that, we lost our drummer, and so we were kind of like in this place of, well, we want to still record music, but we don't want to just release it with. We're not ready to just like find a drummer. We're not ready to just have
Right.
those kinds of like
Ah,
tryouts and
okay.
auditions and things. So we were like,
Mm.
let's just play with people we want to play with,
Hmm.
old friends. Let's do the auditions and stuff when the
Hmm.
time feels right, you know.
Hmm.
And it ended up in January of 22. I had a real bad appendix flare up,
Mm.
and I
Mm.
actually had to go into surgery and remove it.
Mm.
And it was very, very, very traumatic experience, and very, very hard on me. I was out of playing for close to like I think 10 or 12 weeks,
Oh wow.
and so I wasn't working, and Amy, Delvon's wife, and our manager put together like a GoFundMe and reached out to a lot of people and got kind of got things together for me so that I could just focus on healing. And I can't express how grateful and how much of a blessing that was.
That's awesome.
So coming out of that, it was like, I just want to live. I just want to let the music just be the music and find the right people for the songs that we write and that sort of thing. And so I asked some of my good friends, Joe Marcinek, who has played, if you know Joe Marcinek, and if you're in the jam band scene at all and the funky scene, Joe he plays with everybody. He's played with Bernie Worrell, has been on his record. He's got George Porter Jr. He's played with pretty much every big name you can think of. And that's like the premise of his band. But he's a local guy, and I've known him for like 15 years, and we've jammed together and played jazz. I'm playing with him on Sunday. We're doing a jazz gig together. And so it's just one of those things where I was like, I want Joe to be on it. And then Joe was in a band with another good friend of ours, Kevin Martirosian, who plays drums. And I was like, I want Kevin and Joe on this track. That's what we're doing. And so Joe, instead of playing guitar, came and played the keys and gave it that like Parliament Funkadelic overlay to it.
Yeah.
And
so Joe's a guitar player, right?
Yeah, Joe's a guitar player.
Yeah, that's how I knew the name. But then when I saw that he played keyboards, I thought, I know that name.
Yeah.
But the keyboard part threw me off because I thought of him as a guitar player.
Okay. And he's a hell of a guitar player and songwriter.
Yeah.
But he actually played keys on some of our very earliest shows in Caught On Cline because he's also a very, very good keyboard player, obviously. I mean, you got to hear the track. It was like incredible.
Yeah. Oh, it's a fantastic track. I love it. And I made a note. It's definitely a headphone song. You got to hear that in the headphones, man.
Yeah.
That's a great one. So, and then another single release, Dawn, which was an instrumental in 2022, and fantastic artwork on that. Was that Nick as well?
That was Nick as well, yeah.
Oh my gosh, that is I could just sit and stare at that for an hour. That's beautiful. Yeah.
I remember I told him, I was like, I don't know, man, like Dawn, I'll forewarn everybody. I am not the visual Nick in the band, and nor am I a visual person whatsoever. Like, I'm like, I don't know, make it look like this, and he goes in his little corner and presents like 20 drafts and talks to you about all the different things. And I'm like, you guys decide, man. Cause I'm an all ears guy. I'm not really a visual guy. Yeah. And, but yeah, so it was one of those kinds of things, but that was actually our first song we wrote and our first song that we recorded with our new drummer, Mike. So that kind of is the introduction to who Mike is and what this new chapter is going to be like.
Okay. On something like that, Nick, did you try it with lyrics at all, or did you just know, hey, this is an instrumental from the get-go?
That one, I initially wrote the riff, and I was like, I think it's going to be kind of like a James Brown thing. And then the guys are like, no, man, let's slow that riff down and give it this kind of feel. And I was like, no, there's no lyrics over this. It's going to be very just what it is, which I don't even know how to describe that song. It is what it is. It's Dawn.
But yeah, we got to encourage everyone to go check it out. It's a great song, and stare at the artwork for a while too. You'll enjoy it. And then late in 22, you released your live covers.
Yeah, so we just wanted to give the fans something fun, Yeah.
Show that.
Yeah, that was all DIY. We did all that ourselves, I mean, the last album we did all ourselves as well. The next set, but it was just all about the fans were like, you guys just got signed. When are you releasing this? When are you going on tour? And I was like, slow down. Give us a moment to enjoy it. And so I told the guys, let's give them something. So we had a show and we recorded it, and
so this is from one show.
That's all just from one show. Yeah.
Is it real? Okay. That was a question I had. I wasn't sure if it was live. So I could clearly hear some talking to the crowd on one of the songs, and I thought, Okay, is it all live performance or some of it live in a studio? So it's all from one show. What
It's
show
all
was
from
it?
what's that?
What show was it? Do you remember?
It was a show we did at a place called Northwoods here in Northwest Indiana.
Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
and Sounds Cool. Sounds Cool Live Audio did the tracking for us, and then I took the tracks back to my studio, which is called Region Buzz, and just threw a master on it. Kind of did a few balance things, EQ, and just printed. We only printed, I think, like 50 copies. There's not a whole
Is that
lot.
right?
Yeah,
So I got one of the 50.
yeah. There's only like 50 of them because I was like, I'm not gonna sit here and burn CDs and put them all
Right.
together.
Right. Yeah. I feel fortunate to have gotten one. I forget how somehow I think you posted on Instagram.
It was on
maybe.
Instagram. Yeah.
Yeah, and I jumped on that. Yeah.
Yep.
I'm glad I did. So very cool. Yeah. Just for the listeners out there, Oyo Como Va, Just My Imagination. Everybody Wants to Rule the World. I won't name them all, but Superstition, Let's Get It On, Come Together, a jazzy version of Come Together.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's. I was listening to it earlier today, and I really, really enjoy it. So I'm glad I
Thank
was
you.
lucky enough to get one. So
Yeah, we
let's,
might re-release it at some point digitally or
yeah,
something. But right now we're just like, let's just do just a limited run. Whoever gets
yeah,
them, hey.
yeah. Are there any left?
No, we don't have
Nope,
any.
they're gone.
Yeah,
Okay,
we can print more for people if they're interested.
yeah,
Just send us a link. Send us a thing on Instagram or Facebook. Is probably the best way to reach out to
yeah,
us about it and
yeah,
get those
yeah.
orders going.
Okay,
Because one of all four of us are connected to all our socials, so one of us
okay,
will see it with at least within a few
sure.
days and get back to you.
Sure, yeah, okay. Which that really leads right into, I wanted to talk just a few minutes in the time that we have left here to talk about your live performance. And to that point, that live CD, you guys, it feels to me, and I hope I'm not wrong on this, but it feels like you guys are built to be a live band. I mean, you clearly have released some great studio material, but it feels like the deal is playing live. Is that accurate?
Yeah. So anybody that's really a close fan has been following us for a long time. They like our studio stuff. They enjoy it because they can listen to it in the car, become familiar with the songs. But anybody that comes to a show, say you come to a show on a Monday night, it could be the same exact set list, but it's going to be a very different show on Wednesday night.
Okay.
We just
And
like
why is
to.
that? Dig into that a little bit.
I love to read the room,
Mm,
and I love to be able to express myself in the moment according to how I feel in that moment. And
okay.
to me, it's where I'm playing. Sometimes you got to play the. I listened to a little bit of one of your episodes from last week, and he was talking about like he hates playing covers and things like that.
Yeah, yeah.
And I kind of understood where he was coming from. But in the same thought, I thought to myself, I don't necessarily agree with him on the philosophy that I hate playing covers. It's just that I think that people always want to play covers according to the record. And I
Right.
don't like doing that. I like making something my own. And one of our biggest fans, a guy named Kurt, he's great, super big supporter, been super invested into us in so many different ways. And he always, anytime he can try to make it to a show, he doesn't care if it's like Friday, Saturday, Sunday. He's going to be there for all three because he knows, and he tells people all the time, they play according to where they're at and who is there. And he always gets it, because like a lot of people, you won't understand it unless you're at the show. It's really just that simple.
Yeah, yeah. Okay. Yeah,
You know.
very good. That was one of the songs I had, or one of the questions I had teed up was, do you stay close to the recorded version of the song? And it sounds like it could be, and maybe not.
It can
Depends on the
be.
night.
It can
Yeah.
be.
They would recognize the song, but you may tweak it. And
Yeah, we put our
yeah,
own stamp on it for sure.
yeah,
I'm not a traditionalist when it comes to Caught On Cline. Let's put it that way. Caught On
yeah.
Cline's my empty canvas of whatever colors I want to put on it.
Sure. I like that. I like that. And I should have asked a long time ago, the name of the band, where did that come from?
So if you've ever been driving through Northwest Indiana, you know that there's Klein Avenue that leads you right up to this, city in Chicago
Okay.
and all that sort of thing. And Alex was working at one of the schools right off of Cline Avenue, and there's always construction, always construction on Cline Avenue, since the time of before my father's father's father was born. You know, it's inevitable. And so we had rehearsal, and me and Nick J are, here in the rehearsal space at my house, getting kind of tuned up and ready. And I'm like, man, I'm kind of like 15 minutes late. That's kind of unlike them. It was like 30 minutes goes by. They're kind of late, and I can't remember if it was Alex or if it was Ray. They walked in. One of them said, "Sorry guys, I got caught on Cline. Construction was like all crazy." And keep in mind, for like months leading up to us not having a band name, Nick J at the like drop of a pin would be like, "Oh, that's the band name." I'm like, "What? Double A battery? That doesn't make any, like that. That's stupid, And and then like 10 minutes later, the drummer walks in. "Oh man, I'm so sorry guys. I got caught on Cline."
I love that. I mean, I hate that they got caught, but it led to a band name.
It led to a band name, and the more we thought about it, it was like, it's catchy. It's catchy.
Oh, it's very catchy. Yeah.
But the more we thought about it in terms of our message as well, a cline is an infinite slope. And if we're trying to change positivity and allow ourselves to be a vessel for that positivity, we're only on an incline to positive thoughts and experiences for people.
Very cool. Yeah. Good deal. I'm glad I asked the question. So, yeah, and you guys, you've got a pretty robust YouTube channel too, with a lot of your live performances on there.
Yeah.
Is that somebody with you on all those shows where they're filming and with the band, a wife, a friend?
Yeah. So I won't say most of, but probably a lot of it comes from. So I have a studio here in Maryville, Indiana, called Region Buzz, and we do live streaming, audio, visual, all that sort of thing. And I have a team. And a partner there, and we utilize the space to rehearse on Tuesday nights and create, lots of content for people. And we're actually going to be revamping some of that here real soon. So a lot of that stuff came out of things that were happening in COVID. People couldn't go out. State of Indiana, just like around the world, everybody was on quarantining and, that sort of thing. And once we were allowed to legally open back up, there weren't a lot of gigs, but we all still had to kind of like, keep the music going.
Sure.
And so we started just creating content. We did like quarantine sessions where the guys would record, one of us would record a thing, and then another guy would overlay that, send me the files, and then I would have myself or my team put the stuff together. And that was part of that was part of it as well.
Some of that's on your website, right?
Probably. I haven't. I'll be transparent. I don't handle the website myself. Nick does a lot of that. So
yeah. Okay. Yeah. I think there's COVID-19 releases.
Yes. So that is we did weekly releases during the lockdown, that sort of thing, where we were just like creating a new song a week. And so one week was like Nick J, and one week was me, one week was Alex or whatever, and we kind of just approached it in that type of way. And we wrote a song. Here you go. Here it is. Here's our COVID release. And it allowed us to generate some type of connection with our fans, just something to show people, hey, regardless of all the craziness that's in the world at the moment, we still want to show you that we're doing something for you. It might not be what our normal quality would be, but it's something.
Yeah. Cool. And then when you build a set list, are you pulling from the newer stuff, or do you just kind of spread it out across all your releases? What's a set list look like for you?
It's a good question. I don't do set lists. I hate set lists. I'm like, the guys, they either love it or they hate it, depending on the show. I hate set lists. I'm going to be honest.
Yeah. Okay.
There's this guy kind of vibing out over there. He's wearing a such and such type of shirt. Let me do this song. Boom, 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 boom. We do it, and we do it in that style. And that's just kind of how I like to approach it. But like for bigger shows, like
Yeah. Do you not have a set list then? Is that what you're saying?
Not
Or you?
no,
Or,
not normally. That's not the status quo. In fact,
okay.
it's the latter. The only time we do a
Okay.
set list is if it's like a very specific show, like the Delvon shows,
Mm-hmm.
where we know we have so much time that we have
Right.
to do something, and there's like real stringent on those types
Yeah.
of shows. There's stringent time restraints,
Yeah.
so
Yeah.
I'll put blocks together, little medleys, and I'll in
Mm-hmm.
Alex is really good about organizing it. I'm like, whatever you guys want to do, tell me what you want to do, and then I'll tell you if it's good for my voice at that point in
Yeah.
time.
Yeah. Yeah.
You
Okay.
know.
Okay. Very good. Well, cool. We'll kind of start to wrap up here. What bands are on your radar that should be on our radar?
Oh man,
That's a tough one sometimes when you just hit cold with that.
yeah. That I'm just listening to, or bands
Yeah.
that okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
So some of my very very good friends, Stop Drop Rewind, is like this like
Mm.
real math rocky pop punk group. They're really cool.
Okay.
Super 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 uh, intellectual music. If you're
Mm-hmm.
into that sort of thing, they're kind of like Rush meets Blink 182. It's
Okay.
it's really interesting.
Yeah. All right.
It's an acquired taste,
That's okay.
but I really enjoy their approach and like their time signature changes and all that sort of thing. I'm really excited to hear some of Delvon's new stuff, the things
Oh
that he's
man.
working on.
Oh,
You
I
know,
love the music. I
yeah.
love his music. Yeah.
I'm really excited for our friend Duran Jones.
Mm. Okay.
He has he's going to be releasing a solo album in May, so I'm really excited to hear that. He just released a single last week. Huge fan of Duran, and he's also a really good friend of Alex's, because him and Alex used to tour together in a band. So
Okay.
Duran Jones is the next big release that I'm looking forward to,
Mm.
and yeah, I got a couple artists at the studio that I'm working with producing
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
that got some really cool, unique stuff coming out. So we'll see.
Yeah.
As far as influenced by and like what I'm really listening for, I
Mm-hmm.
keep I keep that kind of thing real small and just listen to what everybody's really working on. I'm just
Yeah.
excited
Yeah.
to be connected to wonderful people making
Mm-hmm.
a positive change.
That's nice. That's nice. Yeah. Very good. So as we do wrap up here, what's on the radar for Caught On Cline for 2023?
Currently is getting into a studio and laying down all these new tracks because we got
Yeah.
like 25 of them.
Yeah.
And that's really the biggest news that I can really kind of put out there. We're talking about starting a Patreon soon,
Mm-hmm.
where people
Okay.
can like kind of see the process of us recording and
Yeah.
that sort of thing. And then we're hoping to do some type of releases here soon, maybe just some singles and that sort of thing. But
Mm-hmm.
that's kind of like the vibe that we're, or
Yeah.
the
Okay.
focus of the vibe that we're going for
Yeah.
is
Yeah.
giving people like the back end look of seeing
Mm-hmm.
what we're trying to create and like let them be a part of the process.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Any shows coming up? I've seen that you've played. I saw something on Instagram about your last show that you played, and it escapes me now. But have you got some planned for the near future, or what's that look like?
March, we have a couple acoustic shows that we're doing, which are just like real small kind of things.
Mm-hmm.
But then May kind of hits and it starts to get busy. Summer is really busy for us. The
Okay.
winter, being in Chicagoland, is
Right.
a lot of places aren't really doing full bands, so we do kind of like we do a lot of our own solo or duo stuff, and then
Yeah.
if the situation's right, we'll do some trios or something like
Mm-hmm.
that. But
Okay.
yeah, we had some really cool shows the last couple of months. Some Pollyanna ones, and
Mm-hmm.
out there in St. Charles, Illinois, they have a really cool setup and a really great company called Tunes for a Minute. If you're not familiar with them, check them out. They have lots
Okay.
of really cool talent and great people out that way, and
Okay.
we're just grateful to be a part of their family as well.
Yeah. Nice. Nice. Um, we kind of alluded to it earlier. You got YouTube. What other ways? We got Instagram. What's the best way for fans to connect with you?
Facebook, Instagram, as well as the website, caughtoncline.com. That's caught as in the word you caught a fish, in as in I think you could spell in, and Cline as in Cline.
Yeah. Okay.
But yeah, we're going to be doing, we're actually, the young people are doing the TikToks. So we're going to be joining in on the TikTok thing here soon.
Okay.
Yeah. I'm not into the TikTok thing, but we're gonna try it out and see how it goes.
Give it a shot. Yeah. Yeah. Cool. Okay.
But the website is really the best way. We have all our merch on there, and then we're on all digital streaming. Spotify's and that sort of thing. If you want to get a taste before you want to get the real thing, because I tell people we're an experience. It's not just about listening. It's also about, like you kind of pointed out, is the graphics of the actual CD, and there's a lot of thought behind it, and there's a lot of symbolism in what we're about inside the actual graphics of the actual CDs and that sort of thing. But we're hoping to, with Amy, some of the plans are, once we get these tracks recorded, get a booking agency, and then get some vinyl release too. We're going to try to maybe do the vinyl thing for the first time.
Nice. Very good. Well, I look forward to the new music. I've enjoyed the stuff you put out so far, but I'm always up for new music. So yeah. So we'll wrap up here. I'll stop recording and we can chat just for a second beyond that. But man, I really appreciate you joining me. And,
I appreciate you having me, man. I really do.
Yeah, absolutely. And I wish you all the best, the band, all the best for what lies ahead in 2023 and the future. And hopefully your health, you're on the road to healing and things get better for you that way too.
We're working on it. We're working on it.
Nice. Yeah. Okay. All right. I'm going to hit this and we'll talk just for a second.
All right. Sounds good.